everyone, and I'm Sonic98, bringing you the latest on video games, TV news, and more. So today I'm going to do my first review on this channel. Specifically, we are going to be talking about the Season 2 premiere episode of Transformers Robots in Disguise Overloaded Part 1. Now, this episode just aired last Saturday, the 20th, and it was, in my opinion, a great way to start off Season 2. We got a lot of good moments, some nice nods to Transformers Prime, and then we got introduced to, of course, Overload, who I think is one of the best Decepticons yet on the show. So we're just going to go piece by piece and talk about this episode. So now, before we go into the actual episode, there's just one little thing I want to touch on, and that would be the new theme song that they used for Season 2. Now, while it's the same theme song from Episode 1, it does feature new scenes in Season 2 that, I guess we could look over later in another episode, but the other thing I really like is that they actually include Optimus, Windblade, and Drift in this intro. Now, you don't know, in Transformers Prime, when they did Season 3's intro, yes, they did add Optimus and Bumblebee's new appearance in the episode, and they put Shockwave and Predaking in it as well. But they didn't include Smokescreen, Ultra Magnus, Knockout, and like Breakdown or any of the other new Decepticons at all. So I'm really glad to see that Hasbro decided to learn from that and actually include all the new characters introduced so far, rather than just leave it blank with Sideswipe, Grimlock, Bumblebee, and Strongarm. So the episode starts off like answering one of the biggest questions, because remember one of the screenshots we had Optimus like being some sort of like electrical energy. So apparently that was, as I believed, it's basically Vector, not my Vector Prime, my Cronus Prime. He takes away Optimus's like power he used to defeat Megatronus, because since Megatronus is already dead from the Season 1 finale. So this basically just leaves Optimus in sort of like a weakened position, and I feel it's nice to see Optimus take more of a backseat in the series, like, because a lot of people were worried that since Optimus came back in the end of Season 1, that Robot Science Cast would be more about Optimus being a leader, even though Season 1 was building it up to have Bumblebee take on more of a leader role. But I'm glad that they were able to bring Optimus back, but still make it about Bumblebee, with more Optimus being kind of like a mentor, like sort of. I feel like sort of how Optimus is grouped similar to how Ratchet was in Prime, in which they're both out of their prime. I mean, that's a bad pun, but really, I mean that I feel that Optimus is like he's not the badass he was back in Transformers Prime, but he's still trying to fill that role, but he just can't. So I think that's a good way to show how Bumblebee's becoming maybe even more powerful than Optimus Prime, so that's cool. Now we're going to talk about my personal favorite part of this episode, Overload. I mean, this guy's personality came as a complete surprise to me. At first, when I first saw this guy, I'm thinking, okay, since I haven't seen Fracture at all in these trailers, I'm assuming he's going to be the new Decepticon deployer. He's going to be the dumb muscle of the group to replace Underbite and Fracture, and just like be a nuisance to the group. But I mean, just look at this guy here. Just look.
Oh, you're looking to take center stage. Well, you're not the star here. You're not even an extra. Watch the face. The face is an actor's fortune, you know.
Hi, I'm Grimlock, the Dinobot who's gonna rearrange your pistons.
Is that right? Exit Grimlock, stage left.
You see, what did I tell you? This guy is awesome. Now, in case you didn't realize it, the guy who voices Overload is none other than Dave Fennoy. So for all you Telltale fans, he voiced Lee in The Walking Dead Season 1, Bluebeard in The Wolf Among Us, Finch in Tales from the Borderlands, and most recently Gabriel in Minecraft Story Mode. And I just gotta say, Hasbro did a great job of casting Dave Fennoy's Overload, because to have him play such like a charismatic character, to me, it really harkens back to his performance as Bluebeard in The Wolf Among Us. Because like in The Wolf Among Us, you had Bluebeard be this really suave guy, like he was just being like a real like nuisance to Bigby and Snow, but at the same time, like he was really like charming about it, I guess. Like, and he wasn't just like an intimidating guy. He was sort of like a pseudo antagonist, in which he was still on the good guy side, yet he was doing things for his own motives. So that really liked, and so I feel like that performance really crossed over into Overload, which I'm really looking forward to seeing more of. Now, another thing I really liked about Overload is his supposed connection to Bumblebee. Now, if you saw the episode, you'll know that Bumblebee, like, was really hostile towards Overload. We see him, like, when you had Bumblebee go against characters like Steeljaw and Megatronus and actually do well against him, but just have him lose his shit over Overload and almost, like, get wrecked by him, you know that there's something going on there. So, Fixit eventually mentions that back in the early days of the War for Cybertron, Overload was a Decepticon spy who fought Optimus and Bumblebee and apparently beat the shit out of Bumblebee. Now, it could be possible that maybe it was Overload himself, maybe that while he wasn't responsible for it, he ended up capturing Bumblebee and bringing him to Megatron, who, as we all know in Transformers Prime, we learned that he was one who tore out Bumblebee's voice box and why he couldn't talk for the majority of Transformers Prime. So, I'm really looking forward to see, like, this sort of... To me, Overload kind of seems like to Bumblebee as Arachnid was to RC in Transformers Prime, because we know, like, the good first two seasons of Transformers Prime, RC was dead set on taking down Arachnid because she killed her former partner Tailgate. So I'm really looking forward to see how, if this goes on for the rest of the entire season, that Bumblebee's basically just trying to track down Overload to get back at him for beating him up and taking him to Megatron. That will be really interesting. Now we're gonna get into the cons of this episode, and I know I don't mean Decepticons, I mean cons as in negative points. So, while this episode was overall great, it did have some down points. I mean, for starters, it's kind of getting old to see Strong Arm and Sideswipe fighting all the time. I mean, yes, it was fine in like the first couple episodes when the team was still trying to get together, but now it's just getting kind of annoying. Also, I feel like it's kind of like a lame excuse to have the ground bridge blow up because apparently of what since Optimus can't handle the ground bridge. I feel like that's kind of just lazy writing to split up the group, but it'll work out. Hopefully they'll get back together by the end of Overloaded Part 2. Overall though, as I said, those are really the only cons of this episode, and it was overall great. If I was to rate this episode, I would give it a 9 out of 10. It was a great way to start the season, definitely better than the majority of Season 1's episodes. But it still had its flaws, and hopefully Overloaded Part 2 will be able to finish this season premiere strong. So that's it for today's review. If you all like this, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.